Let me moderate that caucus is a Tanraj Dulay and Sanya Tahir production.
Hello and welcome to Let Me Moderate That Caucus with Tanraj Delay and
Sanya Tahir. And before we start, I have things to say. Okay.
Ooh,
Okay.
you're the one doing it.
I'm doing it. Okay. So I've been doing a really bad thing where I've been reading the same book for like a month. And that's really, really annoying because you don't really absorb the book like that, especially when it's like a YA book that's like 300 pages. You should be able to read that in one sitting. I mean, not should, because everyone has different levels of blah, blah, blah. But I should be able to read that in one sitting. Okay. Here's the thing. They introduced a very inconsequential fact about the stove being broke. Okay, wait, hold on. Let me go back. In case for y'all who don't want spoilers, skip ahead to some other time. I don't know when it'll be, but y'all just like keep doing the 15 seconds until you get where you need to go. But basically the whole point of this book is that they get a call at between 12 and 3 a.m. the day that they're gonna die.
You should probably say which book it is if you're gonna be like spoiler alert.
Sorry, didn't I not do that? Oh, no, it's called
You were reading a book.
Okay, sorry, I'm very excited. It's called They Both Die at the End by someone.
Yeah, that's very descriptive.
Fuck, I know his name. Okay, it doesn't matter. Honestly, it doesn't matter. No, I mean, it does matter, but if you search up They Both Die at the End, it's the first one that's going to come up. I promise. It's got like a blue background. They're two guys. It's you get what I'm saying. Anyway, so you get a call between 12 and 3 a.m. the day that you're going to die. They're like, oh, I'm so sorry, but you're going to die at some point today. And then you go about living your life knowing that you're about to die at some point. It could be 5 minutes from the call. It could be at the very end of the day, 11 p.m., whatever. You don't know when, but you know it'll be then. That rhymed. Ooh, okay. Anyway, so two boys, both 18 years old, get the call. And they meet up through an app designed for people like this so that they can meet each other and like spend a day together living their lives, blah blah blah. They meet each other. I didn't really feel it like initially, I guess, but I was fine for it to happen. Like I didn't really feel the chemistry or anything like that, but I was fine for it to happen. They both fall in love, or they kiss. I don't know, maybe it's like the whole last day I must kiss you kind of situation, but they kiss, they help each other get past their trauma and deep-seated issues within the 24 hours. It's like a whole thing. It's really, really cute. But now here's the sad part. I was like fully depressed throughout the entire book because the main character just goes about talking about how he's lived his life in an extremely depressing way, choosing to never leave his house because he's extremely paranoid about dying, which I don't get, because if you're going to get a call the day you're going to die, by extension of that fact, the other days you're not going to die. So you may as well go jumping off cliffs because you're not going to die. I don't know if that's exactly how it works, but it's a fair assumption to assume that you're not going to just randomly get hit by a bus, is what I'm trying to say. But okay, so they do their thing, they live their lives, and then they fall in love, they go back to his house, they sleep, whatever. And then as he's making a cup of tea, the stove explodes. And we were introduced to this fact at the beginning of the book because the stove was broken, but he was like, I'm dying today, so I don't see why I need to bother fixing it. But he died because he didn't fix the stove. Okay, and then the other dude walked across the street, grief-stricken by the fact that this dude he fell in love with in the span of 12 hours died in front of his eyes, or while he was asleep behind his eyes. Whatever. I'm rambling at this point, but it was just very sad. And it's not that I think this was a great book, because honestly, I don't think it was amazing to the way that I was expecting it to be, because our so-called she who we do not speak about friend in the group that was recently brought up. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Okay. She was the one who told me like 3 years ago that this book made her weep. And I was like, okay, well, if it made you weep, there must be something about it. I didn't get it. Maybe it's because I read it over this extremely long span of time, but honestly, I didn't get the whole love thing to begin with. I think the concept of the book is fascinating, but them falling in love fully didn't make sense to me, because there was like a moment 2 pages before they kissed, and that was it. Like throughout the book, there was no like big build up or anything. I didn't feel it. There was them building up respect for one another and appreciation for one another, but I don't know, maybe that translates to love, who knows.
Okay.
But yeah,
I just want to say
that, but not highly.
That is Chekhov's gun, and we discussed Chekhov's gun before, but Yeah, that was Chekhov's gun.
I know,
And
right?
it's a
I did
very
not
good use
expect
of
it to come
It's a
up. I
very
did
good
not
use.
expect. And the way that the other guy died was by crossing the street but not looking both ways. And the reason that he didn't look both ways was because through the entire span of the book, the other guy, the guy who previously died because of the stove, was the one that was holding him back, looking both ways before they crossed the street. So now that dude
Considering
wasn't
it's
there
only been
anymore.
12 hours that you've known this person, I don't know if that's a surefire like conditioning where you no longer do that.
But that was the last line of the book. The last line was oh my god. The last line of the book was, because there was no one there to hold him back, he didn't look both ways before crossing the street. And then he was hit by a car, was the assumption, because there was another storyline that was inconsequential about this guy rushing to meet his girlfriend who had got the call but didn't tell anyone because she thought it was a prank by the guy who worked at the center who gives out the calls. Which is a really odd prank, but okay.
Yeah, that sounds very convoluted. I will not be reading it. Thank you.
Oh, wait, no, yeah, I don't recommend you reading it. Next, I will be reading The Song of Achilles, which I have much higher hopes for.
Yeah, you should. It's pretty good.
Okay, I'm ready to continue with the episode. Thank you.
Okay, and before we even start again, even though I had a perfect segue for this story, I have another story that I want to do. Okay, it's about the cognitive dissonance that white people have.
Okay.
Okay, so basically there's this entire thing on Twitter about Grindr, and if you don't know, Grindr is a gay hookup app, blah 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 blah, hookup culture, blah blah blah. And yeah, so the entire thing about Grindr, people were posting screenshots of like things that white people have said to them. One of them is of this guy, South Asian man, a South Asian gentleman, if you will, and he was being a white man on Grindr approached him and was like, "Hey, you look cute. Are you Mediterranean? You look hot. Blah blah blah." And then he's like, "Yeah, I'm half Italian, half Indian." And then the guy was, "Oh, sorry, I'm not into Indian guys." And I'm like, the cognitive dissonance to be like, you were attracted to this person 30 seconds ago. Now you're not. What's happening?
So he was attracted to this person, found out exactly what his race was, and in his checklist of do's and don'ts, that race fell into the don'ts.
Yes.
And therefore decided that though he was previously attracted, he was no longer attracted.
Yes.
Yeah, that's some kind of fucked up shit.
That is cognitive dissonance.
At its finest, bro.
Yeah, and then the same guy got a bunch of messages after he posted that, and he posted those two saying like, just, I'm not racist just because I don't want to fuck Pakis, blah, blah, blah. It was in English, he was British, even though I hate British people, so yeah.
Look, I fully get, and in my limited sense of fully getting, not being attracted to certain, like the same way you're attracted to certain body types or certain hair or whatever it is, certain styles, certain personalities, you can be attracted to certain races. That's totally fine. But there's some confusion there when you were attracted and then not, only simply because you got the fact. That's the issue.
That's the weird part for me.
That's, yeah, if he started off being like, look, hey, not my cup of tea, you know, pun fully intended because I found out he was a British dude.
British people don't do, I'm sorry, I don't, tea doesn't deserve to be associated with the British, and that's
no, I fully agree. Well, I mean, I don't fully agree. I feel like anybody can have anything, but then you have a specific hatred for British people that is going to get us canceled. But
no, I don't have a hatred for the British. I just believe that they shouldn't be associated with the beauty of tea, which has a steep history. That was a pun, steep history in the continent of Asia, considering it was invented in China and has a deep history between the cultural relationships of Asia, including the word tea and the other word cha, which is from Cantonese and the other one from Mandarin, blah, blah, blah. Yes. And there's a steep history as well with Turkey being the most tea consuming nation in the world.
Oh,
so,
Turkey? Yeah. Turkey has fabulous tea. I highly recommend tea in Turkey.
Yeah, they consume the most of it, not the British. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also,
they have this thing called apple tea. I don't even think it's made out of real apples, but like it's fabulous.
On that thread, I'm very annoyed of British superiority complexes, especially on the internet, when they like get mad at especially Americans. They're like, Americans don't drink tea, blah blah blah. How could you know? Tea is such a quintessential English breakfast, blah blah blah. And I'm like, girl, shut up. You don't know anything about tea. You do not know the word that come out of your mouth.
Nah, I mean, honestly, the kind of breakfast that Europe in general has just kind of makes me nauseous, because that's a lot to be eating at 8
No,
a.m.
no,
in
no,
the morning.
no.
No, because I feel like because India does the same thing. We have hot breakfasts, right?
Yeah.
Which I have no issues with. I have no issues with hot breakfast. But like I remember seeing a French breakfast, and it was like a chocolate filled croissant with literal melted chocolate, like hot chocolate, and then jam, and then scones, and then this, and then whatever else. And I was like, this is a lot.
I'm gonna say something in response to that. Was that a French person's breakfast or a tourist in France's breakfast? Because that'll inform what happens.
Fair. I
Because
don't know.
all the
That's
things
fair.
about the proper English breakfast I've seen have been from British people, and proper English breakfast simply does not look like it would be appetizing to me. And just like the proper English breakfast, a lot of British food that people post does not look like. There's that entire thing like, are you even from Yorkshire if you don't eat this? And it was like a piece of like stale looking bread with like a hunk of like white cheddar on it, and I'm like, well, that's the cheddar's not melted. That bread doesn't look appetizing. It's like white bread. I'm like, that doesn't look good to me. And
Oh
yeah,
God.
with like but like for like every like French person that I've seen posting their breakfast, every German person, all those like other European countries, when they post their food, I'm like, okay, I see that being decent.
I don't know. Maybe it's a lot to me, because I feel like India generally doesn't do meat for breakfast.
No, we do like
We don't do meat for breakfast. Even if we do eat meat as a like that is in our cuisine, it's not for breakfast. But like British people, they're having like giant ass pork sausages for breakfast. And I'm just sitting here like,
sausages, they have bacon.
that's a lot. That's a lot.
The same thing for like a proper American breakfast where it's like pancakes and bacon and sausages. I'm like, that's too much.
Like just pick one, man. Pick one. You don't gotta be doing all of this.
Not even just one. You can balance a plate properly without it being a lot.
His stomach is recoiling. His throat is recoiling. Okay, anyway.
Speaking of European food cultures, this is going to just segue into our topic.
Oh,
so there was recently a Reddit post being like, what cultural things do you not understand about different cultures? And one of the persons was like, oh yeah, I went to my Swedish friend's house, and while they got called down for dinner and they told me to wait for them, and they ate dinner without the poor child. I'm like, what's up with Europe not having this hospitality culture? Literally anywhere else in the world, you go to someone's house, they feed you. That's just common courtesy. Even if
it's not a mealtime, they feed you.
They feed you. They give you a nice drink, maybe a bit of nosh. If it does come to a mealtime, they're not gonna be like, oh, wait for me, I'm gonna go eat. They're gonna feed you as well.
Food and drink is the perfect icebreaker.
Yeah, literally, I thought it was like a cross-cultural phenomena, but apparently not in like Northern Europe. Apparently, that's not a thing in Northern Europe.
It's everywhere else. It's everywhere else. Like literally you invite someone into your home, the first thing you do is you ask them what they want to drink, and you lay out a platter of biscuits. That's the first thing you do.
Literally, and yeah, and that brings us into our topic because it was a Reddit post, and we will be talking about Reddit. And for those of you who don't know what Reddit is, it is a social media platform which has basically complete anonymity.
Oh yeah, pretty much, yeah.
I feel like on the scale, like the least anonymity would be like Instagram, then like Twitter. I mean, then like TikTok, then Twitter, then like maybe Tumblr, then Reddit, then 4chan. Those would be like the scale.
I haven't even ever used 4chan. I thought that was mostly for.
I haven't used 4chan.
Okay. I don't know what 4chan's for, but sure.
4chan is basically the completely anonymous. It's like where all those crazy things start.
Oh my god.
I didn't have a cough all day, and now I suddenly have a cough. What's happening?
His body is rebelling against this podcast right now. Okay, we're gonna give him a second. We're gonna let him choke up his hairball.
I'm gonna pause for a second. And we're back, and I got myself a nice cup of water.
Water?
A water.
A water? A water. He has water in his hand now. Those are the only accents I can potentially do.
And we're better. And today we're talking about Reddit, which is a forum in which people can post about things, whatever they want. It has everything between economic inflation to sexual inflation.
Yeah, okay, no, I'm good. So yeah,
If you don't know what that is, and to reference to, it's a Reddit post where someone posted in the economic inflation subreddit asking for inflation pornography. And yeah,
okay.
there's a post in a similar vein where someone posts on a weight loss sugar cutting out diet Reddit, a subreddit, asking for a sugar mommy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and on a similar vein, but not of the same dick, we we today are going to okay, so we each walked away last week and we're like, we're gonna pick Am I the Asshole post that we want to share and discuss with the other. So I have two, he has two, we're going to discuss, we're going to debate, we're going to look at the comments, we're going to make judgments. We are the judge, jury, and executioner today.
Okay, well, this one is one that I came across last night. It's not an Am I the Asshole? It is a different type of Reddit post, but it's in a similar vein.
Okay.
And basically, if you don't know, TikTok does this thing where there's all these TikTok accounts that read Reddit posts and they like have like a background of like someone playing like Minecraft parkour, playing Subway Surfers, and it'll be someone with a really nice voice being like, "Am I the asshole? I did this blah 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 at my sister's wedding and killed my mom. Am I the asshole?" It's all those like Reddit posts and like yeah, it's very interesting for me. This was my introduction to these types of things.
Okay.
And I want to go first with mine because it's kind of long and it's from the R off my chest, which is basically where people say things where it's like off my chest. I'm done talking about it.
Okay, yeah.
This is coming at you from 9 years ago. Last night was 8, so I think today's his birthday of this post. So it's 9 years ago by Captain_1958. I will be crediting him. He hasn't made any posts since then. I'm pretty sure it's a throwaway account. The title of this post is "I am not proud of my son." Now I'm gonna, since we're doing TP cast, how do you feel reading that?
Well, I mean, every parent has a right to feel pride or not pride in their child. Every parent has that right. It doesn't necessarily diminish their love, so I'm not going to call him a bad parent. I am, however, going to say that's a very vague title. And considering that the way that I scroll through Reddit is I click on interesting titles, this is not the most interesting title I've come across.
It's very interesting to be like, I am not proud of my son.
I don't know. You read things about like, I caught my sister and her stepbrother and sister and brother in bed together, and they asked me to join. What do I do? Like, you get all those.
No, those ones are always like boring because they're over explaining in the title. I feel like the ones with the most mundane titles are always the wildest one. It'll be, "Am I the asshole for calling my sister fat?" And it'll be like, you'll be like, "Okay, yeah, you feel like you are the asshole," and you read it and it's like, "Oh, wow, your sister's a horrible person and was just like slut shaming you or whatever," and called her fat, and then she started crying, and then your mom called you like, "Wow, your sister was definitely in the wrong here."
No, yeah, those ones you do have a point there. Okay, fine. So you think that the title is super interesting. I am on the fence about that. But beyond that, I'm going to assume that in this scenario, the son is a grown-ass adult. I'm assuming that they're a grown-ass adult. I'm assuming that this is a father, not a mother.
I said he, so yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry. So from my deductive skills, I have determined that this is a father. And let's see. What else can I glean from this title? I think that I'm going to, I want to say, based solely on the title, I'm going to disagree with him.
Okay, yeah. Go. I'm going to preface this by this has a lot of potentially triggering content, including sexual assault, drug use, and all sorts of things. Okay. This Saturday, my son will have been sober for 18 months. He got his GED this year, and he starts community college at the end of August. He finally has a job that I did not get for him. Soon will be moving into his own apartment, and hasn't missed a single appointment with his therapist. He has done everything you would expect of someone who is a precocious 17-year-old who hit a rough patch after meeting a particular bad influence. He's 29. He is now 29. This is the point where I'm going to say, nevertheless, I'm still proud of him for turning his life around, getting off drugs, off the streets, staying out of trouble, and acting like a responsible adult, or at least an adult who knows the meaning of the word responsible. Maybe I'll throw in a reference to the prodigal son and kill a fatted calf for him. That's certainly, but expected of me. That's certainly what my son expects of me. He wants, slashed out, demands praise and forgiveness and a party and me to hug him and tell him it's all right. Demands me to tell him how proud I am that he's made something of himself. But I'm not, because he hasn't, not in the slightest. His mother and I gave him every opportunity we could. I don't expect any praise for that, because unlike my son, I don't expect praise for doing what you're supposed to. She and I worked hard to give him a loving, stable, comfortable, and supportive home. We were involved in his school. We introduced him to music, brackets, to the extent that two people can. His mother was a damn good cellist, though. And sports, and culture. We fed him healthy meals. We played with him. Thanks to him, we got in the best shape we've ever been since our 20s. And we let him stumble and fall and make mistakes and get back up again. He started shoplifting at 17. The first time we caught him, we bodily dragged him back into the store, made him return the copy of Grand Theft Auto and apologized and offered to pay for any damages. The second time we caught him, this time with a pair of shoes, we did the exact same thing. The third time, we started going to family therapy. Okay, I'm sorry, I just read ahead and I'm getting very heated. Therapy seemed to go well, and after a few sessions, the therapist asked a few one-on-one meetings with him. After those, the police came knocking at our door because the little shit has concocted some story about how we are in a religious cult who sexually assaulted him for breakfast every Saturday, and the dumb chicken shit therapist actually believed him. Rational heads prevailed. We fired that therapist and went through 6 more in many months, until eventually we couldn't find anyone who would take him on as a patient. By 16, he was drinking, then we found pot in his bedroom and in our bedroom. He started leaving needles, bongs, crack pipes, where he knew we would find them, just to fuck with us. I know this, because he said so, in those exact words. He had his first intervention and trip to rehab that year, and his first relapse. He had a repeat of high school at 17, which meant he was now the ringleader of a group of young dipshits who saw him as some totemic mentor shaman who could hook them up with whatever shit they wanted. I'm also damn sure he started fucking one of the gang's younger sister, brackets F13, around then, but I had nothing to go on but my own instincts. So all I could do was tell the family to keep an eye on her. No charges were ever pressed, and the family never spoke to me after that. But they did pull both their kids out of that school. My son was furious with me for daring to not let him continue committing statutory rape. He decided to try normal rape later on. While I was away, he spent an uncharacteristic night at home on his best behavior. After his mother went to sleep, he followed her into her bedroom. He took a knife with him. He crept into the room, straddled her, put a blade to her throat, and slid his other hand inside of her. I don't know exactly what happened next. I know he held her own and tried to undress her. I know she fought. I know he stabbed her. I know she got away and locked herself in the bathroom before he could catch her. I hope that means she kicked him good in the balls. I know she broke a window and screamed for help. I know she ran. I know she was lucky the ambulance got to her before she bled to death. I know he called his friends to brag about and beg a ride. I know the police caught him. I know if I'd been home or if I'd caught him, I would have killed him with my bare hands. The state testified my son as an adult. He pled out, but only after making his mother testify and smiling the whole time. She divorced me a month after his sentencing. I looked too much like him. She killed herself a year later. I would be a liar if I said I didn't blame him for her death, because I absolutely do. He was sober when he went to her room, sober when he pulled out his knife, sober when he climbed on top of her, sober when he raped her, sober when he stabbed her, sober when he ran, sober when he called his friends to brag, and sober when the police found him. When I made the mistake of visiting him after the divorce, he laughed and said she'd had enough of his dick, and I could never satisfy her. When I made the mistake of visiting him a year after she killed herself, He laughed again and asked how it felt to have some prick take your bitch away. I'm just going to say my own thing about his own mother. Back to the story. I should have killed him right there. It was my eternal shame that I did not. They let him out after serving 3 years. He spent the next 6 years on the streets, in and out of rehab, on and off people's couches, and they would grace me every 6 months with a phone call demanding money. Eventually, I refused to talk to him unless it was to drive him back to rehab, and I stopped completely after he stole my wallet. 2 years ago, he came to my house with his aunt, brackets his mother's sister, in tow and crocodile tears in eyes. He pretended to apologize. I slammed the door. His aunt barged in to try to shame me into forgiving the man who raped my wife, caused her death, and laughed about it. He stayed outside. He slashed my tires and threw a brick through the window and drove off in her car. His aunt had no idea he'd taken the keys or that he'd been armed the entire time. She blamed me. He guilted her into letting him stay with her, went to rehab and relapsed. Then went again, and here we are. In stark contrast to the ball of shit that is my son and his life, I watched friends and colleagues who still talk to me, that is, children go on to become doctors, lawyers, skilled tradesmen, actors, musicians, academics, entrepreneurs, and career military. I've seen them start their own families, and even the ones that had a rough start or stumbled, fell, managed to pick themselves up again, or are acting bravely just soldering on. I had nothing but respect for them. I also note that they do not expect juice and a fucking cookie for having a job, or not getting hopped up in meth and raping their mothers for a whole 18 months. My son has pretended to reform before. He has even convinced himself once or twice, but he always backslides, always relapses, always finds new ways to disappoint, always hurts other people with his own short-sighted benefit. His aunt is already on the stage where she was pretending. She must have forgotten where she put a knickknack or a piece of jewelry, or has already told me to fuck off after I warned her what my son can, will, and has done before, and what he will do when he thinks she is weak. When he fucks up again, when he hurts someone else with his ceaseless bullshit, I will not be there to pick him up. I'm through with him. I am through with his aunt. I cannot talk to her without being overcome with rage and shame as I see the stupid, stupid hope I used to have in my son would ever amount to anything, and I do not need more disappointment and failure in my life. I am not proud of my son. I am sorry for inflicting him upon the world. That's the end of that Reddit post.
Okay. Can I just say, I kind of wish you had left that for last. But that's a solid way to start, I suppose.
It really is. And I will say one thing. A lot of things on Reddit are lies. And a lot of people will say things like,
That's too specific.
I know it's far too specific to be a lie, but everyone on like Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, they're very jaded and they believe that everyone is always lying. I do not. And there's, oh my God, this story is just so, and a lot of people say, no, this is too crazy to have happen. First of all, we have many records of similar things have happening in the past. And this just makes, this entire story made me very sad last night, and I need to share that.
What? What did you just?
First of all, the aunt is not a real one. Imagine siding with the person who raped your sister.
She's not a real one. Okay. Reel it back for a second. Let me just, okay. First of all, and I had this thought before you got to like the really bad stuff. But the way that this father like went from calm to completely rage in like the span of 2 sentences in that, like you could, the tone just completely shifted in 2 sentences. That jarred me a little bit because he started off with like, I admit to this and I admit to that and I admit he's kind of gotten his life together and I admit he's sober, but he raped my wife. And I was like, hold up, go back. What did I miss here? Also, like, it kind of sounds like this kid has some kind of behavioral situation going
Yeah,
on that he
yeah.
was never analyzed
The
for.
lack of empathy, the lack of sympathy, the lack of understanding the implications of the issue, the lack of feeling.
I mean, how many therapists could they possibly have taken him to that there was just no one that would continue to see him? Because that doesn't sound right.
That has happened before, actually.
Where people just all of the therapists in a city or something just refuse to see a patient.
They talk and they see how problem.
But isn't I mean, okay, yeah, protect your own sanity, but isn't that kind of the point of your job to take on problematic cases?
Yeah, but then if the problem doesn't resolve, it takes a edge against your success rate.
Oh, fair enough. Okay. I don't know. There was a lot. And look, hey, in my opinion, I was gonna say that, like, I get why kids want validation, and then he moved on to like the other stuff. Like, I was gonna say that these were the thoughts that were forming in my head initially. Like, okay, yeah, maybe he's not great, but I can see why he'd like some validation from his dad. And then he said, hey, he's done these awful things, and I was like, okay, I see why you're hesitant to give said validation. No, but I mean, okay. Oh my God, I don't even have thoughts that I'm forming anymore. No, okay. I've always held the opinion that love shouldn't be conditional, even if it's from parent to child. And that doesn't obviously mean that, you reject kids for expressing who they are. I mean, like, if your kid turns out to be an axe murderer, that's where your love has conditions. If your kid turns out to, be incredibly disrespectful of you, you are allowed to go no contact. That doesn't make you a bad parent. If they cross whatever line it is for you, and it's up to you as a person and parent to decide what that hill is to die on. For some parents, it's marry outside of the race. For others, it's be a serial killer. Everyone has different lines that they're not willing for their kids to cross. And, I get to have the opinion of whether that makes you a good or bad parent, but you as a parent get to have that line. So obviously I can't say that I'm fully in agreement that this dad is totally justified in doing whatever he wants for his own peace of mind and sanity. But yeah, I don't, beyond that, I don't have much to say.
Yeah, these are things that make me scared to like become a parent, because like I don't know, what do you do? Like if your child becomes like a serial rapist, what even one rape, that's enough. I'm not dealing with that. I'm like, go ahead.
And they always say things like it's in the parenting, but sometimes it's not. There are things that are outside of your control, totally outside of your control. Like if your kid has some kind of behavioral situation that you didn't pick up on, or that nobody could have picked up on because they figured out how to hide it. Like psychopaths and sociopaths are known for hiding who they are from people all the time, and they learn from an early age what is and isn't acceptable, and they mask who they are. It's the most what's the word I'm looking for, charismatic people are sometimes psychopaths and sociopaths, because they are the ones who best understand social cues and how to adapt them into themselves, whereas the rest of us behave the way that we know how to behave and sometimes don't pick up on social cues, and that makes us unlikable. That's the word. Anyway, I'm veering off topic. I'm just saying that not all of that is in your control, which is reason number 1,075,000 why I don't want a kid. But that's neither here nor there.
Oh wow.
But yeah. Oh, what did you find?
Nothing. I'm just reading through the comments, and one of the guys is talking about how he is such a fuck up, like himself. Do you want me to read it?
Oh my God, yes.
Okay, this is by Need My Amphetamines, also 9 years ago. It was edited 8 years ago. So yeah, I'm sure my parents had the same fear. They were very religious, and I haven't followed in their ways like they would have liked. Here's my response to an Ask Reddit a few days ago. At what moment did you know you fucked? Did you stop and think, wow, I'm fucking up? And what did you do to change it? Oh my God, my headphone fell out. Okay, a year and a half ago, I was in a colon divorced and living with my parents, dating an old high school friend, single mother, having a long distance relationship with a divorced mother of 3 in a different country, having a local fuck buddy for nights when I wasn't getting any from my girlfriend, started fucking my coworker, was drinking and taking prescription opioids at work, was selling some of my prescription painkillers at work, buying weed at work. A lot of things happened at work from a different coworker for a friend I didn't use. Well, good for you. and
Distributing drugs is also a felony, by the way.
yeah. And the coworker I was fucking cared enough about me to get behind my back and tell my parents everything I was doing. They sat me down for an intervention and said they would like to kick me out if I didn't stop buying and selling drugs and flipping around. What did I do? Change. Stop drinking, on the job at least. Cut back on the painkillers for a back injury. Stop buying and selling drugs. Somewhat, because I had a job. I dumped the needy, whiny girlfriend. The coworker stopped fucking me. The long distance relationship chick found some local and stopped talking to me when he knocked her up. And I've been dating the former fuck buddy ever since. But the fuck buddy really won. Still living at home, paying off debts and medical bills, can't afford to live on my own at the moment. But my parents are much happier with me now. I'm trying to be a better person.
They don't sound like they have a lot of desire to be a better person.
I think they do. I think they kind of got slapped in the face and they're like, okay, I'm gonna try.
I don't know. I think I never really think about that kind of stuff, right? Because I guess for me, the desire to be a good person kind of supersedes anything else. The desire to be good and the desire to be like good in terms of what my parents want from me and what society expects from me. That is always just the natural first response I have to any situation. But what happens for people who it's not? That's got to be really hard to turn your conditioning around like that.
Yeah, like I've been watching. Do you know Malcolm in the Middle?
No. I mean,
Okay.
I do know of the show, but I haven't seen it.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a bit of a description. It's an early 2000s sitcom about a suburban family. The mother is very put upon, the father is kind of a goofball, and they have 4 children, all of whom are hellraisers. All of whom. And one of the kids particular who I'm really, 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 really dislike because he's just such a bad person and he's so mean and he like has very little redeeming qualities to him. His name is Reese. He is the second son. They're all sons, by the way. And he is very dumb. And it seems that he has no baseline of good, despite the fact that the mother is trying to implement it. His like situation is trying to make him a better person, but he really lacks those like barriers. And I don't know, it just always frustrates me because he's very mean to people, but he doesn't take people being mean to him back. And he's a bully.
That's it, right? Yeah, that's it. It's always like when your baseline is to be a good person, that's easy. Then it's easy for you to be good. What happens when that's not who you internally are for whatever reason? Whether it's you find more pleasure from being mean or nasty, or whether it's just that's who whatever conditioning it is that you have that makes you just your first response is I'm going to be an ass, like, or I'm going to be a bitch, or I'm going to just disappoint the people who I whatever, like my my goal, my whatever is to be quote unquote model citizen. That's just who I am. Like what do you do when it's not? I have no idea. That must be so hard for people, especially if they like to have that other baseline. When they don't care, they're like, okay, yeah, fuck the world, I'm gonna do what I want to do. That's different. But if they're like, I'm trying to be better, I would like to make these people whom I love, my parents, happy, but it's just not in my nature, that's got to be hard as hell.
Also, another thing I've learned in this, like, I'm not proud of my son post, is that Australian people spell jail differently.
J-Lo as in the actress?
No, jail. Like jail.
Oh,
as in,
jail.
Sorry.
Sorry.
For Australians, apparently it's GAOL, which feels awfully.
Gowl?
It feels awfully archaic.
Oh God, I kind of love that. Okay, we got to move on, and we got to move on to Am I the Assholes?
Okay, you do yours because I just took over kind of our big talking.
No, that's cool. Okay. There we go. Am I the asshole for calling my parents disgusting perverts?
Oh, I think I know this one. Okay, yeah, let's read it. Let's read it.
Okay. TP cast me. TP cast me.
Okay, well, since I already know it, it kind of loses
Uh,
all purpose.
I hate that. Okay, fine. We're not gonna TP cast then, but I am gonna read it to you. So and this person is a 17-year-old girl. My parents, who are in their mid-40s, sat me down last year to have a talk. Apparently, they've been swingers for years. And for those of you who don't know, swingers are just people who invite a third in, right? Or do they switch partners?
They have relations with other couples.
There we go.
So
Always forget.
they like swing. They have fun.
Yeah. Okay. I always forget if there's so many terms, you know? So apparently they've been swingers for years. And now that I was getting older and doing more stuff on my own, they wanted to let me know about it rather than me stumbling over something on my own and thinking one or both of them were cheating. It was kind of mortifying at the time, but I tried my best not to think about their sex lives. Okay, absolutely fine response. That willful ignorance shattered on Monday. While I have my own computer, theirs is the only one hooked up to a printer, and I wanted to print something out for school and not have to pay the outrageous amounts they demand over there. Asked mom for permission, got my thumb drive, sat down to their computer to load up Word, and found their private Discord channel left open.
Not the parents having Discord.
I would have ignored it, but I just kind of noticed my own name there, and I confess I took a peek. They were talking to a young, she looked like late 20s in the pictures uploaded, Black woman who wanted to know when I would be out of the house for a while so she could properly serve mistress and master again. I read a bit more, and apparently both of my parents have been having this weird master and slave roleplay with this woman for almost 2 years. I tried to keep it to myself and just pretend I didn't see anything, but they noticed I was acting weird and withdrawn around them and asked me what was wrong at dinner last night. And I'm not sure what I meant to say, but it just came out that I found out about their little sex toy, and I couldn't believe they could be such racist, disgusting perverts. Mom started crying, and dad started trying to explain the ethics of his pervert group. But it was hard to listen to, and dinner just kind of broke up in acrimony. Mom came by later that evening wanting to talk, but I kept the door locked and said I didn't want to speak to her. I brought it up with a bunch of my friends at school. She's in high school. She's 17 years old. But most of them think that it's okay as long as everyone involved is having fun. But it's not their parents, and I feel sick to my stomach just thinking of how weird it is. But maybe my friends are right. Am I the asshole? Should I apologize to my folks?
I apparently didn't read this all the way through when I saw it on where I was looking. I did not get to the part about the slave play. Which, oh my god. Well,
okay. No, go.
I believe that we should reserve the right to being able to do what you want in your bedroom as long as there's consenting parties, all consenting parties, and it seems like there is, but I don't know. I feel like she is kind of the asshole.
Look, she's 17 years old.
Yeah, that's fair.
She's 17 years old, and she's found out that her parents have been essentially having an open marriage.
That's fine.
For however as long as she can remember, and which she had a reasonable response to.
Yeah,
she had a reasonable response. She was like, look, hey, it's their lives. I'm just going to try not to think about it. That was a reasonable response. I would have added in a clause of, please let me know when I shouldn't be home. But, that's fine. And she saw, okay, you have to be honest. The optics of this is bad.
Very much so.
The optics of this is horrible. Because it's not that, and it doesn't, I honestly, I didn't see it as slave role play, because calling someone mistress and master doesn't necessarily equate to slave, but then she specified that it was slave role play. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Does mistress master always equal to slave play?
I feel like that in the kink community it does.
Okay, fine, fair enough. I mean, I just think the name is kind of sexy, but hey. I personally don't get that kind of role play because I feel like the while I enjoy a good power dynamic, that's a bit much. Cause like that just I wouldn't be able to get out of my own head about that. Like treating someone like a slave, I wouldn't be able to do that. But you know, to each their own. And I guess white people really know what they're doing in that department.
So did the Arabs, miss.
I'm not an Arab. I'm an expat, you know. But I gotta stop. Okay. But I mean, I think her response was valid. I think maybe she came on a little bit strong, but she was kind of reeling in the new information presented to her that she found out in a very not nice way. Like, that's not the way you want to find out about your parents' kinks. Like, by reading about some girl wanting to come over. I don't know. I think that nobody is really the asshole in the situation, assuming everyone's consenting. But like also everyone kind of sucks. I don't know. It's a little bit of both, in my opinion. No, maybe, yes.
I feel like it was kind of weird for her to involve her friends, mostly because like if something embarrassing were to happen to in my family to that level, I feel like it would be more embarrassing to tell people about it.
I would not be telling my friends unless we are like hardcore besties, which maybe she is. I wouldn't, especially like who's discussing their parents' sex lives with their friends? Like that's it.
That's odd. That's odd.
I mean, maybe that's like the only child syndrome because it doesn't sound like she has siblings.
No, it doesn't because she's the only one there.
Yeah, so maybe that's like what happens to only children. Like they don't have anyone to discuss it with. They don't have anyone to discuss family drama with, so they go to outside sources. I don't know.
You go to grandma and grandpa be like, you won't believe what your son is doing.
That would be worse. Oh God, that would be much worse, much worse. Okay. I accidentally brought up Viagra around my grandparents. I'm still not okay.
Okay, should I read my next?
Yes, please.
This one's actually an Am I the Asshole?
Okay, good.
Okay, am I the asshole for embarrassing my sister in front of her friends? I moved into my dad's house a year ago because my mom passed away due to drug use. My sister is only 4 months older than me, and she hates me because I'm an affair baby. My dad's wife only found out about me 3 years ago, but according to my sisters, their marriage has never been the same since her mom finding out about my existence. Every day, she will do things to make me feel like an alien in my own home. She ripped a photo I had of my mom, and grandma stolen a necklace my mother gave me. She'll also bump into me on purpose while I'm walking around the house. My dad is packed with so much guilt that he doesn't really feel like doing anything. My sister's mom puts more effort into stopping her daughter than my dad. My sister invited her friends over, which is a group that consists of 4 girls. She'll start making fun of my dead mom and me by saying stuff like, I wouldn't talk to her since she's only going to end up like her mom in a few years. Or the reason she looks like that is because her mom used while she was pregnant. She also said, druggies like her mom don't deserve life anyway. Yeah, that's a lot. Everyone was laughing at me, and I felt the way. So I told my sister about herself, saying, what kind of evil soul makes a joke about someone's dead mom? Not just anyone, but their own sister. I have not done one thing to you, but you've done nothing but make my life miserable. I'm sorry that your dad cheated on your mom, and I'm sorry that caused my existence. But I'm here now, so deal with it or leave me alone. My sister started crying, saying that I ruined her life, and that she wished I didn't exist. And she ran to her bedroom. My sister's friends didn't know that I was her sister and thought I was a foster child or something. So all her friends started asking a bunch of questions about me and were upset of her for lying. She refuses to show her face at school anymore. My dad's upset with me because he thinks I should have taken her aside instead of embarrassing her and outing her in front of my friends. I didn't know she was lying to her friends. But my sister's mom thinks I did nothing wrong and that her sister's fault for lying and bullying me in front of her friends, and says it's a natural consequence. This is just a summarized version of everything. It would take a lot of writing to put in. I'm sorry if I left any important details out. Am I the asshole for embarrassing my sister in front of her friends? I love that they apologized because there was grammar issues. Like, girl, you could have read it before you posted it, but I'm fine.
Oh God. Can I just say those friends are kind of assholes? Because like, even if you didn't think they were related, you don't just like laugh along with somebody making jokes about another person's dead parent.
Especially in front of them, like that's so inappropriate.
Like, okay, I mean, okay, look, I can't claim to have been in this situation, but personally, I don't get involved in my parents' marriage. You know, like you don't get involved between the
So
issues that they have.
if you found out that your dad had a secret family, would you not be like, what the hell?
Okay, look, generally speaking, I tend not to take sides. Whoever I may think is right or wrong, it's just easier not to take sides. So, like, if
You
my
wouldn't take
mom's
sides.
pissed about something, I mean, look, at this point, the affair, like, there's only proof that the affair happened once. Now, obviously, if it happened once, it probably, like, unless there's reason to assume, like, now that she found out one affair did happen, she can put together pieces of, oh, he's constantly late at work, or he's constantly taking work trips, or, you know, then if there's more proof to put together, then yeah, there's a side to take. Otherwise, okay, clearly they've come to a consensus and this child is living in the house and the parents don't seem to be getting a divorce anytime soon.
I love that the mom, the like stepmom, I guess we're gonna call her, was on her side. Like that's
Well, yeah,
but
it's not this kid's fault that any of this situation happened. If there's anyone to be pissed off at, it's the dad. There's nobody else to blame here.
yeah, the mom is dead.
Yeah, and also I tend not to blame the
You don't blame women.
No. I tend not to blame like the individual that didn't have anybody to betray, because the person that betrayed someone was the dad.
Yeah,
The woman may not have known, or like even if she knew, it's not her job to tell him to have or not have an affair. You know? So
Yeah.
like blaming that person is useless. You blame the person that chose to betray, you know, their partner.
Yeah.
But just in general, it seems like the family has come to a decision to accept this child and keep the marriage intact. So I don't understand why this daughter has taken it upon herself to fight her mother's battles.
I don't know, but I understand your point earlier about like I understand you wouldn't be mad at the child or the whatever spawned of this affair. But you wouldn't take sides of like you learned, like say your dad was having an affair and your mother was just so heartbroken, like she was like, oh no, what's happening? I can't even keep my husband. Or vice versa. Like, what if your mom cheated on your dad and your dad was like, oh no. And he was like all bedridden and sick.
Bedridden. Oh God. I find it hard to picture my parents in that scenario.
You wouldn't
just because
no, like if they were
at the end of the day,
crying, drinking chocolate.
No, look, at the end of the day, when I'm with that parent, I'm obviously gonna like go with whatever flow of conversation.
You would switch up and like at the divorce trials you would be testifying for both parties.
No, that's what I'm trying to say. At the divorce trials, I wouldn't be testifying for anyone.
You wouldn't?
No, because at the end of the day, I still have to maintain a relationship with both parties.
They
may choose not to maintain a relationship with either, but unless I don't care like that you cheated on them, like with whatever. You were still like a decent parent to me.
Okay.
I feel like because I feel like I don't expect that kind of betrayal. There's no room for that kind of betrayal in this scenario, because he can have multiple children and still treat me be an effective parent to me, you know?
Okay.
You can't have multiple wives and be effective.
So you don't have loyalties to like your mother or your father that are superseded?
Look, if I had to pick one to save in a fire, yeah, maybe.
No, that's not what I'm talking. It's not like you love one parent more than the other. It's like loyalties. Like if one of your parents were to betray another one of your parents, that would be a situation.
I don't think that's my responsibility. I don't think it's my responsibility to side with one parent or the other.
I know, but okay, how about we apply this situation to something else? Say in our friend group, one of our friends was to betray me so devastatingly that I was no longer able to like think properly or whatever, and that I was betrayed and now I am in the worst point of my life. Who would you choose? Like, do you not like? Do you think like, oh yeah, he was a good friend to me, no, it's fine, or do you like actually take that on and be like, that was crossing the line, babe, bye?
Okay. I feel like that situation is slightly different
Yeah,
because no, because I don't care about my parents cheating. You know, like
okay.
that, it doesn't affect me in terms of like I don't now see them as a totally different person. Like I would see them in a different light, but in terms of
Mhm.
as my parent, I still see them in that same way, right? Now, if my friend were to do something so horrible that you are now in a state of utter despair, I now see them in a different light
Mhm.
because they've done that horrible thing.
So if your
I don't know.
mother or father was in a state of despair because they got cheated on, they got dragged, they got like stabbed.
I'm fully aware that this logic makes no sense. You know, I'm fully aware that I don't make sense right now, but I don't know if my parents cheated on one another. I feel like my relationship with them should remain intact.
If your
But when
parents had to fight to the death, who would you side with?
whichever one is going to win,
Who are you going to be cheering for in the stands and the gladiatorial
whichever
arena?
one I believe is going to win. And you know what? Depending on what weapons they're allowed to use, it could be either of them. Look. My parents have made it very clear that I am too. Like, my parents have dragged me into their issues many times in the past, you know. And when I'm with the offended parent, I side with them, and when I'm with the other offended parent, I side with them. That way, both think I've sided with them, and
So
in
they don't
reality, I
know.
don't care.
So what if they were to cite each other during an argument? Like, oh, Sonia agrees with me. Like, what would they do? Like, they would find out that they would redirect the anger towards you for being a liar.
I mean, at that point, you know, I would just leave. I'd be like, I'm out, y'all. You have fun.
Yeah, where are you gonna go?
I will take their keys and drive away.
Wow, where would you go?
A strip club, most likely. Drown out my sorrows.
Do you have any backup plans of places to live?
Babe, I know where you live. I'm coming to
Okay.
you.
Okay, yeah, you can sleep on the floor.
In your room. Oh, once your dad find that scandalous.
No, we have a nice couch. It's pretty comfortable. That would be good.
Oh, babe, you're offering me your couch. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't think my parents would turn you away. If I was to say, oh yeah, she's homeless.
I wouldn't be homeless at that point. At that point, I yeeted myself out of that situation. I wasn't
Okay, yeah,
yeeted
I
out
would just tell them that you got kicked out by your parents that hate you.
And if he calls my parents and asks me to cite my sources,
Yeah, then everyone's against you. Like my parents are like, you're a liar.
oh God, where did this go from? No. Okay. My main point is when my parents inevitably find out that each has cheated on the other, I am not siding with either.
Well, yeah, if they both cheat on each other, that's
Or
like,
that
different.
one has cheated on the other or vice versa. You know what I mean? If
Yeah.
either party has cheated on either party, I'm siding with both. And in the divorce trial, I will side with whoever's going to give me the most inheritance when they die.
You're like those kids. You're like those spoiled kids in those books where they're like, now I have 2 Christmases because mommy and daddy are separated.
No, look, I believe in the power of a silver lining, okay? If the silver lining means that because they want me to support them in the divorce trial, one of them will buy me a car or pay off my student loans, I'm with you, babe. I am with you.
So what I'm hearing is that Sonia can be bought.
Sonia can be bought for a price. Like I ain't coming to you for a $10
Your
pancake.
word has no honor. You have nothing. You have no principles, no integrity.
I don't think that's true. I don't think that's true because once I make the deal, once you bought me and I make that deal, then I'm honorable.
Yeah.
But until then, I'm up for grabs.
If your honor can be bought, then it's not honorable.
It is honor. The honor still exists. It just comes with a price.
Okay.
As all things must. There is no such thing as a free lunch.
I think there is.
Yeah, I pay for them.
No, because
I bought you.
No, when you go to like a soup kitchen, you don't like. There's no like internal debt.
Yes, there is. The price of that is the shame and humiliation you must face at being homeless and having
You're the one who's gonna be homeless if your parents find out you've been double crossing them.
And having these privileged people who just want a good deed in their on their heads, passing you out soup and looking at you as if you have termites or something.
Well, I don't know, you might. You might, that's not.
I'm gonna get canceled.
Well, I mean, people can have termites.
You know what I mean? You
Oh
know?
my God, do you want to be horrible? Like, imagine you were like in medieval times or whatever, and you had like a peg leg, and then the village got termites, and you're like, oh shit, how am I gonna replace my leg?
That was bad. That was wrong. That was wrong.
No, but it would be such a dilemma, like if you were like at the peg leg of the village, and like suddenly, like imagine it was the priest, like the priest had a peg leg from like a crusade battle or whatever, and now
Why
they,
is the priest fighting a crusade battle?
I don't know, he's honorable. He fought for the Holy Land. Yeah, but now like he termites are infecting the village. He's like, damn, how am I gonna pay? I have a vow of poverty. How am I gonna pay for another peg leg? He gets eaten by termites.
Okay. We gotta move on. Okay. Next one. I'm pulling it up. Okay. Am I the asshole for going off on my wife after she made a sex sign to keep my mom from knocking on our bedroom door?
Yes. Oh my God.
So he's the asshole for getting mad at his wife?
No, I don't think he's the asshole. I think the wife is the asshole. Yeah.
Okay. So, hold on. Where's the original? Okay, let me pull up the original. Sorry,
don't
I
have
thought
the
I had this.
original.
I thought I had this pulled up.
You're so
Okay.
unprofessional.
Sorry. By the way, this person who like went off on his wife was voted the asshole.
Really?
Yes. Okay. So I've been married to my wife for 4 years. We have a medium-sized apartment. For the last 2 months, my mother has been staying off and on in our guest room. My dad recently passed away, and it's hard for her to live in their house alone. So I've been letting her stay with us. My wife and her have never particularly gotten along, but I expected her to understand why it's important to me that she overlook this just for a little while. I mean, she lost her husband of 40 years. She's fragile, and I really want her to be able to do. I really want to be able to do what I can to make her feel better. Oh, what a good son. Love you. Okay, sorry, no, that was just me. My mom's presence has changed our routine a little bit, mainly our nighttime routine. She'll usually come knock on our door to talk. In the nights? Okay.
Honestly, I get it. Like at night, you're missing your husband. You're like,
She'll like, let me go see my son. I
No.
feel like those activities.
No, I don't mean sexual. I mean like there's like an empty spot in the bed. Like you're used to hearing someone snore. You're used to having someone else in your bed. Like it feels lonely. Like you need to go talk to someone. I get that.
Okay, fine. My wife hates this, partially because it interrupts our intimacy. Usually when she's over, we just don't make love. They don't make love.
That's fair. Like you shouldn't be doing that if you have a guest in the home.
I don't think it matters as long as they can't hear you.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like they have a small apartment now. How are they gonna?
Fair enough. So this past week, I noticed my mom wasn't coming in at night. So we had normal nighttime habits. Yesterday, mom pulled me aside and told me that the sign I let my wife put on the door at night was disgusting and not something she ever needed to know. She also said that it was very hurtful and that she was very hurt that I didn't want to speak to her since I'm all she has left now. I told her I had no idea what she was talking about. She said the sign about sex. I still had no idea and talked to my wife about it when she got home. She admitted to it. Well, what else is she going to do at this point?
Well, I feel like you have to make some sacrifices.
She said that she made a sign to keep my mom out of our hair at night. On the sign was written, "Please do not disturb unless you want to see me fucking your son."
No, that's inappropriate. That's very inappropriate. I am not on the wife's side. I'm not.
She thought it was funny and was necessary, but I was mad about it. I took the sign, crumpled it up, and tossed it in the garbage. I then went off on my wife about how inappropriate and embarrassing this was. She told me it's my fault that we needed this and it's just a joke. I slept on the couch last night and she's still pissed at me.
Okay, I don't understand how people can think that the husband's the asshole.
Okay, here, I'll read you the comment.
Okay, explain.
You're the asshole. You need to set boundaries with your mother and not let her intrude on your marriage. My mother is my best friend, and when my father died after 46 years of marriage, she wouldn't dream of intruding on me like this. The sign might have been crass, but it sounds like your wife has had enough.
I feel like there's more logical like steps to go through, like talking to your spouse before putting up such a sign. I am on because like I can't imagine losing someone that you've been used to having for 40 years and like and then going to your son's place and being like, okay, I feel lonely at night. I feel sad because I just lost someone I love. And it's only been 4 months. Like that's not enough time to get over death. Like it's a grieving process. And she does not need to see this thing of this daughter-in-law that she already doesn't like having all these issues.
This comment is actually kind of mean. Okay, hold on. The fact that OP doesn't see his mother's actions as being an issue is a little odd, and he's asking a lot of his wife to have his mother at their apartment for 2 months. I feel like that's not a lot. Are these white people that are commenting? Like Indian people live with their parents their whole lives. Like I don't know what's happening here.
Yeah.
If he wants to crawl back into his childhood and have nightly chats with his mother, I'm not sure why he didn't just move into his parents' house with her.
No, because it's not for him, it's for the mother. Like
I don't understand.
okay, send me the link. I'm commenting on these, being like,
I'll send you the link, babe. Like I got you. Hold
send
on.
me
Hold
it
on.
right now.
I am sending. Where is the chat function? Okay, here it is. Here you go.
Send me the link. I'm bullying people right now.
No, but here's the thing I don't understand. Because that's look, I totally get that, you have to have boundaries with your parents regarding, your marriage, and you can't always cater to everyone all the time. But I don't think, like, she's not staying over every night. The mother is not staying over every night. It's just that when she does stay over, like that's all. And I don't like look, I get that, like, to me as well, it's really odd that your parents will just come into your room, but it's not like she's barging in. She knocks, and there was a series of steps before we led to putting a sign outside the door where the wife could have been like, hey, can you have a conversation with your mother? Like, I'm happy for her to stay here, but she needs to not come into our room during the night, or she needs to not come in after this time. You set a time. You say, okay, look, after 10 o'clock, goodbye. We need to do our own thing. Or, have your conversations in the afternoon. Or do something else. Put in headphones, put in earplugs, white noise machine, whatever it is you need to do. Like there was a series of steps before this sign needed to be implemented. By the way, there's an update if you want that.
I am commenting.
Hold on. Okay. The update is here. Is this the update? Hold on.
The thread has been locked.
Oh, that's annoying. Okay, so the update says, some people asked our ages. I'm 26 and my wife is 25. Oh, that's young. Okay, we have no kids and are waiting until we save up some more money before we start trying for one. So I took a lot of the nicer comments here to heart, so I took action. First, I sat down with my mother and tried to get to the root of the issue. She told me that she's been doing this as she's just been so lonely and she wants to feel connected to her only flesh and blood she has left. This made me really feel for her. So I went back to my wife to apologize and try to negotiate something. My wife, however, told me she doesn't want my mom living here anymore. I tried to see if she could just let her stay one more weekend, but she rejected. Okay, but this is so inconsiderate of the wife, because I believe that if it was her family that was in this position, she would have a totally different opinion, which either means that she doesn't respect her husband's family as much as she respects her own, or has some really deep-seated grudge against this mother-in-law. Okay. I tried to see if she could just let her stay one more weekend, but she rejected. Me and my wife sat her down and I told her we felt like we needed more privacy from her. Look at this husband. This husband is so good to his wife. Okay. Me and my wife sat her down and I told her that we felt like we needed more privacy from her, so we asked her to leave for the time being. This set my mom off. She started crying and accusing my wife of trying to, in her words, break us up. Okay, that's a little weird way of putting it, but fine. I felt bad, like awful. I tried talking to her and wanted to get to the root of why she felt like she needed to be here. She said that now I'm her only flesh and blood alive, and if my wife keeps me wrapped around her finger with sex, I'll forget all about her. So she was trying to interrupt that. Okay, wait, no, the mom had ulterior motives.
Okay.
The mom had ulterior motives. Okay, hold on. She was also worried that if I get my wife pregnant, I'll be too busy with her to see her again, to see the mom again, and I'll be stuck with my wife and that I could do so much better. This made my wife very upset, and I told my mom that I think she needed to leave them. The crying turned into full-on bawling and yelling at my wife. Eventually, I was able to get her out. I told her that I think it's best that we don't speak until she gets over her issues with my wife. Now, looking at this, I feel awful. I had a presence who actively wanted my wife gone and didn't want us to be intimate or have couple time. And to top it off, I argued with my wife when she said she wanted to remove said presence. Like, okay, okay.
I feel like there is emotional incest going on, but I feel like with the last post, there was enough information for people to get mad at.
That's fair.
Like,
I think there was possibly for the wife, there was something going on behind the scenes that the husband didn't know about.
yeah,
The mother was possibly being rude to the wife behind the scenes,
Mhm.
making comments or something like that. You know, and the wife felt like she had to take this step because I feel like, because that seems so weird to me that you just go from like zero to that step when there's so many in between, like speaking to your
Yeah,
husband,
that's.
speaking to
I
your
feel like
mother-in-law.
there should be communication involved because the husband seems to not have the whole story. But
Mhm.
mhm. That's what I'm most interested. Like, I feel like from the first post, the mother didn't seem to be doing anything wrong. She seemed to just be lonely, missing her
Mhm.
husband, and especially at night. A lot of people seem confused about that. But like, imagine sleeping beside someone for 40 years and then they're suddenly gone. Like, that's very jarring. It's hard to process. You need comfort during those times.
I think the issue that we have here is that there was only the husband's perspective. He
Yes,
he
we
interpreted
don't
what
have
his
the wife.
mom wanted. No, 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 not even that. But he interpreted his mom's actions as something other than what they were.
Mhm.
Clearly, right? Because if the mom was there to break up the couple, then what he believed was his mom grieving and lonely wasn't at least all true. It may have been partially true, but it
Mhm.
wasn't the whole truth. And so what we read was a sympathy post for his mother, when in reality, the mother does hold some blame in this situation.
Yeah, which makes me interested as to why people were so pissed.
I think, okay, I think we have a different perspective on this only because of our culture.
That's
Because
fair.
we're very used to grandparents staying for an extended period of time and parents, you know, for that just to be what is expected of you rather than a privilege you're extending to your parent.
Mhm.
Like it is not like it's not like your parents don't be grateful to you because you're letting them stay with you, you know.
It's
If you have the
expected.
space and you need, if you, as assuming you have the space and the finances to make it work, you're expected to do it.
Yeah, and that reminds me of an episode of the Mindy Project.
Okay, which episode is this?
Okay, basically it's an episode where Mindy is living with her boyfriend Danny, and like they're about to get married. So her family, her mother, her father, and her brother come over to help prepare for the wedding. And Danny is being very inconsiderate of her family. He's being very
Mhm.
reviewed, and I don't like Danny, not one bit. Not at all. I absolutely hate him with a seething rage and passion. He is so horrible, and I'm mad that Mindy Kaling wrote it that they ended up at the end.
Yeah.
And yeah, and Danny was being so inconsiderate. Danny continually throughout the entire show is very inconsiderate of their culture. But this is the one thing that happens, like that's so he's just very rude consistently throughout the episode towards like Danny's towards like his own mother, towards
Mhm.
Mindy's mother, and towards Mindy's father. And yeah.
This is it. I feel like we have a very different view culturally of the relationship between parents and children than, you know, our North American counterparts do.
Mhm.
I don't even want to say European because I feel like even in like those parts of the world,
The
there is
Southern Europe,
more.
Southern
Yeah,
Europeans is what I know.
there's this North American culture of like parents kicking their kids out at the moment they turn 18 and children just
Accepting that and being like,
forgetting
never again.
forgetting their parents exist for the rest of their lives. Like I don't understand it. Like no, look, I totally get if you're not able to, right? Like you don't have the finances or the
Mhm.
space. At that point, you put your family first. You put your immediate, your wife, your kids, your responsibility first beyond your parents. If you have the space, you have the finances,
Yeah.
you have the ability, you're so you should.
Yeah, take care of your mom. She
Like
birthed you.
she tore open her vagina so that you could enter the world. I don't understand why you can't extend a 2-month stay to her.
Literally. And she just lost her husband.
Like your dad is dead. Like don't like, and especially if you, I'm assuming he's an only child.
Yeah, it
You
seems like.
and your mom are probably the two people who knew him best, who can reminisce the most about this man who existed in your life for so long and is gone
Mhm.
now.
It's the mother, the wife is giving very much like not gonna like from the first post. I perceived her as very like she doesn't understand what the mother's going through. Not to say that the mother is absolved of anything that she's been doing, but I feel like the
Mhm.
mother is going through something and she needs support from her immediate family, being her son.
I mean, the whole entering your room at night, if that's a boundary you need to set with your parents, go ahead.
Yeah.
That doesn't make you a bad
Also,
person.
she was knocking.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. It's up to you as a couple and him as a son and as a husband to have that communication with all the parties involved and be like, are
mhm,
there boundaries we need to set to make this living situation workable? Because that's totally fair. Like, for example, my grandma lives with us and she rarely, if ever, even comes upstairs to our rooms. That's just a boundary,
mhm.
right? Fair enough. That's what makes our living situation work. You got to find what works, and that's fine. But there were conversations to be had before I signed. I'm fucking your son. Don't enter. Entered like the chat. But
Yeah,
yeah.
a lot of yeah, I feel like also something on TikTok, like white people are obsessed with the term emotional incest, which I do see. There is that does happen with like mothers being overly attached to sons, blah blah blah. But I feel like this isn't necessary. The first post wasn't necessarily in an indicator of that.
Mm-hmm. I want to see the comments on this one. Hold on.
The comments on this one are more so what I can agree with. Yeah. And I feel like that's kind of a natural end to our episode.
I mean, yeah, no, I think it is.
Okay. Thank you for listening to this very informative episode of Let Me Moderate That Caucus with Chandra Delay. And
Sonia Tucker.
be sure to like, rate, and review us on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, and all the other platforms where we are, which are those
That's it.
three.
That's all the platforms.
Yeah. So thank you. Have a good day and have a good life. Bye.